It's an interesting comment there about the tassels on his cloak. It certainly sets the precedent for the sacraments, but then also like Catholic devotionals. We think of having religious objects blessed, and some people, non-Catholics, can view that as superstitious, but here they're touching just the tassels of his cloak and they were healed. So I hope you caught that as it went by, because that's not what I'm going to focus on today. I'm sorry, I'm so distracted. Let me just say this now so that I'm not distracted by it anymore. I think it's hilarious that I read a news thing this morning and it was like Philly fans have been lighting dumpsters on fire, climbing poles in bus shelters, stealing street lamps. They stole a delivery truck and emptied it. They used it to block a street and emptied it of all its linens and let all those things on fire because they're just really excited and they're celebrating the best way they know how. Okay, it's a good national look. All right, now that I've said that, I can focus on what actually matters. This reading from Genesis is substantial. It's 19 verses. And there's a lot that can be said about Genesis. But what I want you to hear today, in its most simple message, something to ponder on, is what do you find attractive about the story of Genesis when you encounter it? I know for me, what attracts me the most is how organized everything is. God will spend the first 3 days creating the spaces and then the other ones filling those spaces. So it's like very methodical. Everything that he creates, he declares as good. Like there's nothing bad about any of this stuff. And not only is it good, but what he creates is beautiful. We're hearing him talk about the stars and the sky, and he's separate, and the land, and you just think about how beautiful the world really is. All the images of the cosmos you may have seen in your science books, or the places you've traveled, the cliffs you've looked over, and all of this is as it ought to be, and it is all there for the sake of life. Like there is no pain, there is no injury, there are no tensions. Everything is harmonious about it. And that's the way that God wanted it to be. Okay, so if that is so attractive, and we know that God, when left to his own devices, tends to do those things, why am I so anxious that this is the very God who has control in my life? Why do I fail to trust him when he calls me out into the dark and into the uncertainty? When he reaches into the formless void that I am and begins his work to make me into what he has called me to be, and I find that terrifying. When at any point has he given such evidence for that kind of a response that we would be worried that such a person would have control in our life? Right? Isn't that bizarre to you? When you look at this in light of what he's done, when left to, like, it's not like Our Lady is looking over his shoulder and saying, don't do that, do it this way, it's way more beautiful. No, on his own devices, this is what he likes. He likes order, he likes beauty, he likes goodness. And if he's going to recreate me, then that's how he wants that to be. That doesn't mean it's always going to feel good. I mean, there's a certain violence when you have to reach into the formless void and extract and arrange things into a certain way. So yeah, there's going to be growing pains in the spiritual life. But the end game is always going to be something way more beautiful, way gooder than anything I would do on my own. And I think that should give us confidence. I think that should reinforce our trust so that as we engage the spiritual life and we walk as disciples behind Christ, we can do so knowing that we are in good hands.